and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'ma put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Friends podcast. We got some shit to talk about today. Man, I can't see. I'm late because, I mean, you know, we're on time for you guys, but I was late for pre-production. So I woke up with like, I don't know if you guys have ever had this happen. Like, it feels like a crusty, but it's not. It's on your eyeball and it keeps moving. So like, I was afraid I couldn't drive here because this is my dominant eye. I could only wink one way, you know? So I had to keep doing this. But like the more I blink and the more I generate tears.
Oh, you got a sty.
The more it moves around. Wait, I thought a sty was like a condition.
No, a sty is when you have something on your eyelid, like a little bump on your eyelid and it feels like it's scratching your eye. Is that what you're feeling?
No, definitely not, because it's moving. I have like dirt in my eye or something, but I can't get it out. And it's been driving me insane for like 2 or 3 hours now.
It can also be a rogue eyelash. That's a thing too.
Yeah.
If you ignore it, it goes away.
You know, I thought that, Landon, and I had a bit of relief when I stopped to get you a little ghost energy brought to you by the one and only Ghost.
America Pop.
How's the America Pop, by the way?
I think it's Phase Pop.
I thought so too. You know, I grabbed it because I thought it was a new flavor, and then I was looking at it, and I was like, I think this is just Phase Pop.
It seems that way.
Yeah. Disappointing?
No. I mean, I don't mind the Phase Pop one. I am very tired. I am very EP.
Me too.
We're EP.
I played late.
But
Yeah.
Guapo's here.
He was getting owned by Okin and PLO all night.
This fucking idiot.
Wait a minute. So after the podcast, Guapo, do you normally just go to sleep?
I do. Go to sleep, wake up around 6, 7-ish, and then back to work.
PM.
PM, yeah.
PM.
Yeah. Yeah, long week.
Hold on a second. I was segueing into Berkey getting owned by Okin, apparently, and quitting him in PLO. Is this really a thing, Matt?
No, I mean, look, all right. The long and short of why I played Okin in PLO and why it persisted for so long was because he and I were like 1 and 2 when it came to being priority in the Bellagio. So like if we didn't have starting seats, we were the first 2 up always. And there were plenty of times where we were either like the second game would break or we were waiting or whatever the case may be. Basically, we were at the Bellagio waiting to get our seat. So actually, that's not even the full story. Why it came to be Heads Up PLO was because this time last year, maybe? No, it might have been like 18 months ago. He was playing an Oscars game. Or maybe it was Doc Sands and Harrison's game. I can't remember, but he was playing a big PLO game and just getting demolished. And I was like, you're shit at No Limit. You're definitely shit at PLO. Like, stop giving your money to these other people. We need you here, kind of thing. And he was just like unwilling to accept it, saying like, I'm getting unlucky. You don't know shit about PLO. I'm like, I don't know shit about PLO, but I know that you're shit at it for sure. And if you want, I'll play you Heads Up. So we started playing Heads Up whenever we were waiting for seats. And I think we've played like, I have to check. I think we played like maybe 40 hours. It has to be more than that. I think we played like 15 sessions. So maybe like 60 hours, something like that. Not a large sample.
You track all your PLO in your software, right?
Yeah, I track everything. I'll see if I can filter for it now. But essentially, my whole goal in doing this, I was doing it for the greater good. I was doing it for the betterment of our game at Bellagio. I did not want to lose our rich trust fund whale, Okin, to the PLO streets. So I figured if a complete PLO novice could come in and mop the floor with him, then he would understand that he's shit at PLO
And just stick to no limit.
And stick to no limit.
Gotcha.
So I did exactly
So you're doing
that.
him a favor.
I was trying to do everyone a favor and maybe pick up a little chump change in the process. And that's exactly what happened initially. I think the first like 10 sessions or so, maybe a little bit more. I was winning like just shy of 300, like 250, playing 1-2. And then he started just the exact opposite happened. He started challenging like the best PLO players in the world to play heads up. And it's just like putting in like hundreds of hours at heads up PLO all of a sudden. And then coincidentally, it actually led to him having a huge upswing where he played heads up versus another kid who I would guess probably also isn't very good at PLO. He's like a decent Hold'em player, but if I had to take a shot in the dark, I would assume he's probably pretty bad at PLO as well. And Okin beat him out of $500,000.
Oh.
So full circle, I don't know what this guy's talking about. I've done him nothing but favors. I got him out of the big PLO games. He managed to, I mean, we're basically even now. I think I'm winning like 50K or something small. Let me see if I can filter really quickly. PLO last 3 years. Yeah, I'm up 40,500.
Okay.
We've played, my screen's broke, so I can't tell. We've played 14 sessions for, looks like 82 hours. So yeah, I mean, you know, small sample. I'm up 2 buy-ins, whatever. There's some outliers in there where we played bigger, but he's a bore to play against. Like, I have better things to do with my time. Like, even if I thought that what I'm winning right now is my true win rate, like, call it $100 an hour, $200 an hour, something like that, I would not, even if it was 5x that, I don't think I would play. It was 5x.
$500 an hour is nice. What's that? 20 dimes a week, 20, 40, 60, 80. So almost $1 million a year.
$1 million a year to play Okin 40 hours a week.
I mean, that sounds like a dream.
Not fucking worth it. Did you see what Dankness reported about when he played with Okin?
I know I have an asset here somewhere. Let's see.
I replied to it because there was a hand we played like maybe session 6 of Heads Up where I was positive he had middle set. It was effectively the second nuts, and I tried to get him off of it, and he tanked for almost 2 full dealer changes before folding his hand. So the Dankness scenario, he said, Okin played one of the most memorable hands I've ever seen. And many years ago at the Bellagio, come on, bro. What the fuck? Juha Helpy raises and Okin calls from the straddle. Flop ace 9-5 spade. Helpy bets 2K. Okin raises the 10. Helpy shoves for 20. And now Okin goes deep into the tank. And I mean deep fucking tank. This may have been the longest tank I've ever seen. It took so long that somebody who had ordered dinner got their food mid-hand, ate it, had it taken away, all while Okin was still in the tank.
Dude, how do you guys let shit like this pass?
I don't know, man. Especially, like, this isn't that much money. I don't know what they're playing, but, like, if he bet 2K on the flop, they have to be playing at least, like, 100, 200. Like, this is way too big of a game for a $10,000 decision to last that long. Finally, the clock was called, and as it winding down, Okin calls for his last 10K. Helpy immediately says, fuck. He was making a move, which, by the way, why are you making a move with ace, king, king, deuce? I don't know Omaha all that well, but, like, you have a pretty good hand with ace, king on ace 9-5, no? Seems like a not get-in spot, necessarily. He had just the naked ace of spades, and Okin somehow has the 9-9-3-5 spade for middle set and a flush draw, so he's effectively got him drawing dead and wins a massive pot in the worst way possible for Juha. Shout out to Juha for the most difficult name of all time. Yeah, that's Okin. He's the human rain delay, man. He's so fucking slow. But, you know, he rarely makes the right decision.
If this was many, many years ago, this means he's been in the big game for quite a while. So he must be doing something, right?
Well, his nickname's .com. He sold an online business. But yeah, he's been around. He used to run games, I think, back in the day. I think he told me he's got out here like 2015, maybe 2016, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I think he was a recreational turned pro, so he got to jump in headfirst into the deeper waters, if you will, so to speak. But the Venetian game's been going well. Seems like it's getting traffic. They meant to do it 2 days a week, Fridays and Saturdays. They ran Sunday and again yesterday. Yesterday we played Perpetual Squid the entire time. I of course
Were you
lost.
on stream as well?
No,
Ah.
only 1 day a week stream.
Oh, okay. When do they stream? Saturdays?
Yeah, which is smart. Because there's no competition on Saturdays, which is genius, to be quite honest. I don't know if it was strategic or not, but really smart, especially with the news that's coming out today, which is that we finally found out who is partnering with HCL, taking over Vertucci's share, and it's none other than GGPoker. I had heard this rumor like out of the gate, maybe a week after Vertucci was whatever he was canceled, I guess. But there was a lot of rumors floating right out of the gate that GG was going to be the one to buy, and I thought like it probably doesn't make sense. I mean, I did a little bit of work with them for WSOP Europe, and they have their own team. They have their own production company based out of Korea that it seems as though they're positioning to launch live streams once the PokerGo contract expires. But I guess this makes a lot of sense because of just sheer traction that HCL already has and location. They have no access to the LA market. And I know that they were trying to get a stream in here years ago at Resorts World. And they may have even tried to partner. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I feel like they were trying to get one either at Resorts or Caesars maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And the deal just kept like following through. So they've been exploring this space for quite some period of time. And it's interesting to me, and I guess to all of us, I'll pose some questions here. Mr. Eepy Boy.
Doing better, man. Unless
Yeah.
I really interject, I'm chilling.
I thought you meant because the ghost was hitting.
No, I'm just chilling.
Okay. What's interesting about this is I understand it from the old perspective, right? Like if we think back to old televised poker back in the heyday, if you will, Full Tilt, Stars, they put on the big game and high stakes poker. No,
Poker After Dark?
they did. So Full Tilt was Poker After Dark. Big game was Poker Stars. I don't know who funded
High Stakes?
High Stakes
It
Poker.
was or no, that's where they aired
It was on the Game Show Network, but my instinct is to agree with you that one of those major sites was a large sponsor of high stakes poker. I can't imagine a world where they were paying $10K per person to come play and it wasn't funded by online poker. But I don't, off the top of my head, recall any affiliation to like Stars or FTP specifically. But point is, post Black Friday, we've seen like a big lull in this space when it comes to online operators, and it's not like online operators aren't still pretty large. GG they've got to be close to as big, if not bigger than what Poker Stars was at its peak in pre-Black Friday days. Maybe not. Do you have any idea what the traffic is over there, Landon, on an average day?
I mean, it seems massive, right? How do you have so much money to do all these things?
Well, yeah, no, they're definitely making a lot of money. I'm just curious, like, what their user...
I just don't know how big Stars was, but if Stars is so big...
I think Stars had, like, 200,000 users at any given time.
I think you can check on
like high
GG.
traffic time.
I think you can check on GG how many people are online.
Yeah, they
on the
used to
bottom
say it in
right.
the lobby of Poker Stars. I feel like on Sundays they would get like upwards of 200,000 people.
Yeah, that makes sense. On ACR, it's like 50K.
High Stakes had Poker Stars and Full Tilt as sponsors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Interesting.
I didn't realize they also filmed at the
Golden
Jewel.
Nugget. At the South Point? Oh, yeah. The season where Daniel wears that like ugly, I'm calling it ugly tan sweater because I had the same one. It was from, I think, Banana Republic, but it was like this tan Argyle sweater. I think he got mashed that season. He lost like 700,000 or something. It was the one where they accused Freddie Deep of going south.
Oh yeah. I felt so bad for him.
Bro, Freddie plays with us, and we bring that up all the time. His retelling of it is hilarious because he's so animated and he gets so hype. He goes, I can't fucking believe they accused me of that on TV. I mean, of course I go south, but I'm not going to do it on the cameras.
Yeah.
This is so good. Bringing this back to the conversation at hand, though, we haven't really seen any like, I guess, corporation-backed production outside of the usual stuff, like the EPTs and whatnot are all Stars Live. They just reintroduced the big game tour now.
As far as like a stream house, you mean?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, right? We moved from legacy, or not legacy, but like traditional televised
big
stuff
production,
to
big money.
To everything shifting towards online. And as that shift occurred, it seemed as though none of the major operators like picked up on it. And I imagine it's because it's just way cheaper to be an advertiser these days than it was back then. You know, like if Full Tilt and Stars were the sponsors of High Stakes Poker, I imagine those were like 7-figure contracts. GTO Wizards probably paying like, you know, $100,000 a year to get their name on the felt on some of these, you know, Poker Go productions and whatever else. I think they're on maybe they're on HCL. I can't even remember. But point is like being a marquee sponsor now is probably not that expensive because it is digital.
Well,
you know,
Hustler used to be partnered-ish with WPT.
Very good point. I forgot about that.
Say that again, Landon.
Up until, well, has that? They still might be, right?
I doubt it if GG bought them.
Correct. But I'm saying like as of like last week's stream, I would imagine.
I don't know.
They were still a felt sponsor.
No idea.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting too. Right. So that is a very good point. That sponsorship's certainly going to pass, right? They're at odds. They're at big odds.
It would be interesting if they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, GG wants to destroy WPT. if we're just throwing all the cards on the table here, right? Like the December Bahamas World Series stop is like the biggest indication that WSOP
they
and
wanna go
GG,
to war, yeah.
that is a fuck you event
I'm surprised they didn't have passports.
to their gold club.
Yeah. Voyage.
Pass.
And beyond.
Salute.
we gotta start renaming this stuff. Okay. Anyway, so what does this mean then moving forward? What is this going to mean for HCL and their production? How do we see GG fitting in as a strategic partner?
Do you think that they're going to run some circuit stuff at Hustler now?
Good question. That's actually a really good question because I believe, don't quote me on this because I'm not positive, but I believe last year's circuit stop that was at Commerce, I know for a fact they didn't use the in-house production. So they didn't use Ballet Live there. I'm pretty sure that was a test for GG's internal production team. But now that they just have on-site production, does the circuit move from Commerce to the Hustler?
Well,
Is that possible even?
I think that GG works, or like WSOP still works with Commerce, so maybe they're just going to be in both places. There's no real conflict of interest, right? It's just different events.
The only one that they stream is the championship.
Tournament Champions?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably going to be in Vegas this year, right?
No.
It's staying over there?
Oh, yeah.
But WSOP is staying in Vegas.
Correct.
But the Tournament Champions is going to be in LA.
To my understanding, they found it to be a resounding success last year.
It means I have to go.
I mean, you don't have to go. It's like a $900 free roll. I mean,
More
no,
than that.
as your backer, you have to go. But
Well, it's online. You don't get any. You get.
what do you mean?
I won the 1K circuit online.
Right.
Oh, wow, you actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. You're
I sell
right.
to him. I want a ring.
Yeah, you're fucking right.
Wow. This guy is just getting me for everything.
But even if not, like, there's other events there.
Yeah, that's what
You'll be in the mix.
yeah. I thought it was wow. I didn't realize that. I guess we don't know for sure, but I thought that the tournament champions were going to be in Vegas after they said that WSOP was staying in Vegas, but maybe not.
This is something that they may have already announced and we missed it. But my impression was that it was staying at Commerce. However, I think you bring up a very valid point. Is this the last year we see it at Commerce now that they have a full production house at Hustler? Second question is,
Are they going to add a peak room?
another great question. All right.
I'm on it today, man.
Prior to getting to the security aspects of HCL, which for what it's worth, as much as I was beaking about it whenever it was bad, I think it's worth like pointing out when changes have been made. My understanding is that they've cleaned everything up in house. As far as I understand it, they've switched over now to Manet's system for the table. I believe is it RX Poker?
I can't think of it right now, but it's
anyway,
something like that.
Yeah. So nobody sees whole cards anymore, even including Feldman. So by my understanding, they've turned off God mode. We already knew that they made some changes with, where they have all of their things set up. So I think the stream is probably at its peak when it comes to security measures at this point. And I would imagine that GG partnering could only help bolster that. Where I was going with this is, do they stay at Hustler? Is this something that now gets negotiated out to one of the other potential casinos in LA? Do they try to move into other spaces? Vegas is starting to get a little bit more saturated, but there's only 2 stream houses here for how big of a city poker wise this is. There's probably room for another.
Are you including
Texas.
PokerGo?
Yeah.
So PokerGo
Poker
and
and Venetian. And Venetian's only operating a couple days a week.
Gotcha.
And they're, just an arm of PokerGo. Texas is still viable. It's pretty much just the lodge at the top, and then Texas Card House and Champions, which is another arm of PokerGo.
Would that be good for Feldman, though? I mean, he's built a game in California. So he's got players there, what I'm saying.
Well, I think for Feldman, he's a 50-50 partner with them now. So anything that's revenue driving is going to be good for him. I think if they can do what PokerGo is currently doing, which is licensing out their ability to run streams remotely, that's a nice revenue driver. I know that they did it. I don't want to call it a test, but they did that on-site stream from Cyprus, partnered with Rob Young. Where I'm going with this is it does seem like now with GG's influence, they could potentially branch out beyond just the LA market. But as a viewer, I don't think that interests us at all. Like, I think that was a flaw in the Bally model to begin with. Like, their whole plan was to have a distribution platform where they had 24/7 channel because they were running streams from Los Angeles, from Vegas, from Chicago, from New York, and everywhere that Bally has a casino. And it's like, well, how about you just establish one watchable stream, and then maybe we'll consider, branching this out to a bunch of different card houses. What interests me is this going to reshape the production as we know it? The 5-day-a-week model, it's kind of like this podcast, it's a lot. You're churning out a ton of volume, but it gets stale at some point in time and people tune out. So do we think that like GG will have heavy-handed influence over curating lineups, being able to bring in, they have their privatized high stakes online. Can they start to get those people into the casino and play on stream? That would be
maybe.
I mean, that would be a big get, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you just have to have really great online players somehow travel.
No, they're not great online players.
Well, I mean, some of the
The
people
private high stakes?
yeah, some of the people that play private high stakes are still good at poker, I'm sure. You think it's everyone there is a rec?
They've done a pretty good job of weeding out all non-recs.
Well,
I think Kaon is maybe like one of 3 pros that has access.
yeah, I guess I just mean you'd have to get them to come to America, right, to play,
Yeah.
which is probably not going to
Or-
happen.
Or HCL now becomes the production house of GG, and Ryan does like on site or remote production for them.
Regardless of like the
Like I wonder if this is a
unsavory-
two-way street, right? Like, will we see Feldman producing the World Series in 2 years?
Wow, maybe actually, because they're not really working with the Poker Go people anymore. Right?
This is the final year of the Go contract.
So then, yeah, it's very possible that that's kind of like next logical steps, because the idea is to cut out Poker Go and have everything be free
Yeah.
for the YouTube. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what their goal is.
Yeah.
And regardless of like all the admin fees and stuff that isn't that great, they sure seem to be piling a lot of money into poker stuff.
Right.
Right. And there's working with Fedor and security and banning accounts.
Yeah.
It steps in the right direction.
At least optically. For
at least
sure.
optically.
I have to tell you, like, these partnerships are not helpful for long term for me getting seats. GG just keeps like partnering with people that I have some sort of beef with.
Hey man, you and
To be
Ryan
fair,
are cool
Matt,
now.
you have beef with everybody, buddy.
That's not true.
This is drama. You're perfect. Maybe they
That
have
is true.
maybe
I
they
do
have
love the
Game
drama.
of Gold in the US. at
What
Hustler?
happened to Game of Gold? I thought they were going to do a second season.
Hey man, I don't know. They're busy buying Hustler.
So the quote, the quote in the article from Daniel Negreanu that he definitely did not say or write, but probably signed off on, is you rarely see me playing high stakes poker on streams anymore, but this is going to get me out of retirement, returning to the felt, playing on the most epic cash game stream poker has ever seen. I'm ready to battle. That was definitely written by a publicist.
Hey man, if he and the Becksmen want to play you and I heads up, we can make that happen.
How do you do tag team heads up?
We'll just play each other, figure it out. They used to have tag team tournaments.
Yeah, but not. Well, I want to play cash.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Hey man, I'm just trying to
man.
get you a seat.
I don't care, to be honest. I
That's
really
true.
don't care, but I do care. I do care from a growth perspective. This seems like it has a lot of potential.
They have many dollars.
They have many dollars. We definitely know that to be true. What many dollars translates to? So this was the argument I made. I had heard about this a day or so ago, and my counter was, what like Kerry has $1 billion. If it were a money thing, couldn't he just spend more and just make poker go the biggest thing that poker's ever seen?
Is that what he wants?
Well, I think he wants to make money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Most people with $1 billion don't want to just like part with it.
Well,
They want to throw a little more wood on the fire.
I guess it depends on how much it loses, right? Because if it's break even to run, and he just wants to play like high stakes poker in his backyard, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not much of a need to grow it, but GG seems like they're trying to expand everywhere, do everything. I try to get in the US as well and have a bunch of properties to stream stuff because they're at the Commerce now and they're Hustler.
I guess my point is like I don't know what money can do for streamed poker. I'm sure that there's an answer there that I'm overlooking. Like there's something sick that they could just throw $1 million at. Like maybe they build like some fucking poker dome and all of a sudden like we start to explore the Alex Dreyfus GPL again, and there's teams and drafts and all this other shit. Maybe I don't know. But outside of something that like isn't obvious, dumping a bunch of money into HCL doesn't suddenly make it like, I don't know, more. I hate to use the word more watchable. It's still getting watched, but you know what I mean? Like there's diminishing returns at some point, right? Like let's say the cost to run HCL yearly is $2 million. If they suddenly have a $10 million budget, like what monumental change takes place
Right,
outside of paying the players, right? That would be the only thing that I think would like really move the needle, is if like you could just sign contracts with players.
Having an unlimited budget doesn't always translate to just having more eyes on your stream, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and the cost per viewer probably levels off at some point.
It's interesting because I think with what they got going on and how much money they have behind them, it's also just possible they try a bunch of different random things and see what does well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, because they're not really concerned, I'm sure, about trying to make money in the first couple years.
Right.
When it comes to
But Feldman is.
But they were going to pay him. He's kind of like an outside hire. Right?
No. He's a 50% owner of the company.
Yeah, Hustler might make. Well, how does
he still needs HCL to be profitable?
But GG doesn't pay the Hustler staff? Like maybe he's on salary with them or something?
My understanding is GG just paid Bertucci
to get his piece.
Yeah. Which is really wild if like the big winner here is Bertucci.
He just gets like
right off into the sunset.
Yeah. Hopefully they got a discount.
I wonder how much it was for. How much do you think they paid?
If I had to guess.
Let's not play that game.
No, we did play this game. I said I thought
we did play this.
I said that I thought maybe this is insulting to say.
I'm gonna say $500,000.
No. Basically, people were speculating that they thought Bertucci's piece was worth like $4 or $5 million.
Holy shit!
I said that's just not correct. It can't be true. But they were basing it off of like growth, and assuming like, you know, let's say HCL makes like $1 million a year now, with the right partner, they could 4 or 5x. But this isn't a slight against HCL. I don't see where that money comes from in the streaming space.
Like, how is it worth so much?
Right. Because like,
well, wait. So they're saying they're valuing the company at $8 million. Then if they're giving him 4, right?
Yeah. I don't know that they gave him 4. I'm just saying like we were throwing like we were doing like Laden Thinks version of this, and I said that I thought Bertucci's piece was worth like generously $1 million.
Oh, okay, so I wasn't too far off then.
I think $500K is like appropriate if you're going dollar for dollar. Like it's at face, it's probably worth like 500, in my opinion. But that's just based off of like YouTube analytics, what I think they're making through sponsors, which I have no idea. I could be like off by multiples, you know. Maybe WPT was paying them $1 million a year, and now they're making way more. Who knows? I would just guess not. So, yeah, I have a hard time seeing, like, this isn't a tech company, right? You pay multiples for growth in the tech industry because you can 100x and get out. There's an exit. This is just a production house, and it's not a novel idea. You know, there's nothing proprietary about HCL other than the name and the already baked in audience. I would imagine they paid like maybe a 2x multiple, not a 4x.
It's interesting in the sense that Hustler viewership has gone down significantly from peak, if you will, but people still really want to watch poker. Like if you're looking at these Triton final table streams, there's like 8K plus live. So there needs to be a way to like actually have people kind of tune in. I just don't know what that looks like, and if they did, they would probably be doing that stuff. But it can't just be because it's tournaments only.
Right.
People just want to watch poker. Yeah,
I agree with you. People want to see high stakes. I think this is a great thing for all parties involved. I guess I'm very interested to see what direction it takes. I think GG will have good influence in bringing people in. I think we'll probably start to see more consistent, like high stakes stuff, like the $1 million game. We might start to see stuff like that monthly instead of, you know, quarterly or annually, whatever it was. But yeah, I think that they have a tall order too.
I wonder what ends up happening if they run, like, let's just pretend $1 million game ran every Friday.
Mm.
At some point, it would just become stale, right?
Yeah, that's the big. That's why I said they have a tall order, because like I don't know how you keep this novel and fresh. That was what
Everyone's numb to $1 million pots now.
Well, specifically, that's what traditional TV had working for it, right? Like you go through seasons, so there's downtime, and it gives people the opportunity to like forget,
Maybe
and then return.
Maybe they put high stakes poker not behind a paywall. Can they do that? Like GG just runs like high stakes games.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Like, you know, you're talking about seasons and stuff for high stakes poker. That's on Poker Go.
They still own the license for that, yeah.
Poker Go does.
Yeah, but GG owns Poker After Dark now, which
Also,
they turned into Game of Gold.
Right.
But they can use that branding for whatever they want.
I do think that if they like premiere scheduled Game of Gold for YouTube and stuff, and like there'd be probably a good amount of people watching live.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's a good content idea. I wonder what happened to that.
I agree with you. I think that that's the direction to take with a production house.
It was getting like 500K views per episode, and like I would go on flights, like come back here, go to Florida, and I would see people on their iPad watching Game of Gold. Like, what?
And there's a lot
How'd
of
that happen?
there's a lot of fruit to bear still on that show, because the first iteration was like by no means
The best.
perfect. Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It's like, and you can also just get a bunch of different people. You can have recurring people as well. It kind of reminds me of stuff like The Challenge, I guess.
Yeah.
Like Uncle CT and Johnny Banana's been there for years.
That was what I was getting at when I said like the biggest mountain mover that I could see an influx of capital having on a stream house like this is if you just signed players, right? Like imagine that they just signed Garrett. Bad example maybe, but imagine you just sign him to a 2-year deal for $1 million where he has to appear on 250 shows over the next 2 years, right? Like that's great, because now you have the anchor to your cast, and he can't game select and he can't opt out. You know, he's taken the bag. I shouldn't personalize this and like say Garrett, but you see what I'm saying? Like you could
just use yourself, man. If they paid you $1 million for 2 years to play whoever you would
fucking
play.
in. It's just like that's the most resourceful way I could personally see the capital getting distributed, right? And you know, maybe that's excessive. Like you would need a real star to pay them 7 figures. Like you would need a real viewer getter or view getter.
Well, maybe that's what they're doing with Daniel.
Could be. But you know, he had already negotiated his contract. I don't know if they can just like bake in, oh, by the way, I need you to go to LA.
Yeah.
I mean,
every
they probably
week
just
for the next 2 years.
probably just add more money to whatever it is, and there's always a number.
There is always a price.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of different things they can do. I can imagine like a Game of Gold US version and like a Rest of World version.
Yeah.
Like they run it still in South Korea.
I don't think that has anything to do with Hustler though.
No. Well, they could use their casino instead of using like the Aria or whatever.
There's got to be better. Yeah, but there's got to be better options.
I guess they can optically make it look like whatever they want.
Like they don't even have a hotel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting. I did not plan on talking about this for 45 minutes.
But they're still with Commerce too, or the bike. Is that with the bike?
No.
Is the bike like? Who's at the bike?
I mean, WSOP circuit, I believe, still runs the stop there, but it has nothing to do with streaming. Like I said, they only stream the championship.
And the Bally Live GG stuff was at the Commerce.
Yeah, but Bally had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Bally just exists at Commerce. They didn't actually produce the Tournament of Champions.
I feel like very soon GG is probably just going to collect everybody. You know, so you don't have to keep thinking like, oh, this is Bally, this is that. Like everything's just GGPoker.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. They were sponsoring the Bally stream.
GG was.
Yes.
Right. This is what I'm telling you.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. So I just feel like at some point they're just like unifying the Infinity Stones.
Man,
you know?
what a bad day for Bally.
Is it?
Of course, you just lost your title sponsor and got stabbed in the back while they go to your number one competitor.
But what if they don't even leave?
No, it's a conflict of interest. That had to be a part of the purchase.
That they leave Bally?
Yeah, just like, I'm sure Feldman had to agree to get rid of WPT as a sponsor.
Yeah, I guess the difference there is, I don't know. Yeah, man.
I would assume, and even if not, I would assume that Bally would want GG out.
It feels very murky of like what GG owns, doesn't own, where they are or not.
Yeah, they're like the Lion King.
The Lion King.
Yeah, whenever Mustafa tells
Mustafa Kanit.
I was literally thinking of him too.
Mustachio.
I don't know why.
Mustafa Kanit?
I'm so tired. Yeah, I was just thinking of his mustache for some reason.
Bro.
When he tells Simba like everything the light touches is
your kingdom.
Yes. Yeah, that's GG now.
That's what I'm saying. They're everywhere, but are they also now out of Bally? Are they out of commerce? Like, no, but maybe.
Maybe.
But probably not.
But remember that commerce and Bally are not synonymous, right? Commerce is just the casino that hosts this live stream.
And Bally is a live stream?
Yeah. And there's a conflict of interest there, obviously, but, commerce running tournaments there with WSOP just because they're GG owned. You know what I mean? Like at some point there's too much overlap where you can't be out of everywhere.
I feel like the main vision for GG is just have everything content related under the GG umbrella.
I feel like they don't even have a vision. They just wake up every day and throw darts at a dartboard.
Well, they keep buying stuff.
Yeah, this seems like a good idea. Fucking buy.
It's like
They're
Risk.
slowly becoming the Amazon of the poker world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Risk, like you win a bunch of different like countries and like rolling dice. And you're like, oh, I'm here, and then somehow you're everywhere.
Yeah.
How it is.
Yeah, I mean, they landed on Boardwalk and they said YOLO. We'll buy. Fuck it.
They got bands. What a cool spot to be in. Just have infinite money and just be like, you know what? I think this is a good idea.
It's scary though, because like, you just keep acquiring shit, but like if you don't have a plan in place, it becomes a matter of like, how do we monetize?
Well, you just keep giving promissory notes,
right,
so you might not even have to pay.
I wonder if there will be a merging of YouTube pages at any point in time. Like, will they simulcast? Will eventually Hustler move over to the GG YouTube page? Probably not. I would imagine Ryan wants that to remain his, but to be seen, I guess.
There's always a number.
There's always a number. That's true. Speaking of big numbers, GG and GG for that matter.
There you go.
They ran into a bit of a kerfuffle, if you will, as their 5 million anniversary event that previously was paused, I believe, maybe a week ago. I think it was paused and rescheduled because they were having some sort of issue, and the rumors floating around were that it didn't make the guarantee, so they crashed the system and ran another flight or whatever the fuck happened. I'm not sure, but in any event, they restarted it 2 days ago for day 2, and they ran into a bit of a snag. There was a table balancing issue that led to them pausing the event and eventually canceling it, as they weren't able to kind of get over this issue. So it said, after encountering further issues, the unfortunate decision has been made to cancel the tournament. We understand the inconvenience for players throughout, and we sincerely apologize. Players will be issued refund as per game cancellation policies. So I imagine everybody was paid out some version of their ICM. And, it kind of happened quietly. And I think mainly because this isn't an American-facing site. So even though GG is the biggest thing in online poker right now, a tournament gets canceled that none of us are playing. We're not gonna talk that much about it. There's Triton going on, there's Poker Go going on, and all this other stuff. But Lappin put an article out basically saying like, they need to do more. This is a massive event. It's a 5th anniversary, 5 million guarantee. That's not a small event kind of thing. He basically was indicating that GG should potentially compensate more than just the payouts to the players who were inconvenienced. They had to, wait around. They also had to They had to like, you know, deal with the prior delay or whatever. I'm not so sure. You know, these policies are written into terms of service for a reason. It's to handle these exact situations, so there isn't an on-the-fly decision being made. I can understand why it leaves a sour taste in Lappin's mouth, but you know, this is kind of just the cost of business. What else are we going to do here? It's unfortunate for GG. Obviously, it's a marquee event, and I imagine that they would like to run it, but you know, shit happens, I guess. It's weird though, because like, imagine like a Stars Million anniversary event had this issue. Like I can't foresee a world where they would just like cancel it.
Yeah.
Maybe they just had like no choice. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Like, what are you gonna do? Run it back? They're already on day 2. That's the other thing with the advent of multi-day tournaments now online. Shit like this is probably more prone to happen.
I think a potential solution is you do the refund thing, give some people money back or whatever, and then once you could try to resolve the issue, try to run the tournament again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So maybe you don't have to wait a couple months to get a tournament like that again, but maybe it's just a month or in a few weeks or however they fix the technical issue. Because it seems kind of, I would be pretty sure that Stars would rerun like a Sunday Million if something technical had to happen.
Right.
It's just such a big tournament for them, and for good reason.
Yeah.
You have like 20,000 people playing a tournament, and you just like have to eat the L in a refund, but then you get to run it back. Like, you're still gonna be doing just fine when it comes to rake and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Well, it's no coincidence that as they canceled that tournament, they also announced a new partnership with AWS to increase security and ensure that everybody has a fair playing experience.
What do they do exactly?
So AWS is a cloud service. It's Amazon Web Service, server.
I think it's web service.
Server, not sure.
Amazon Web Service.
Amazon Web Service.
Okay, yeah. So the statement that they put out was, providing a secure and transparent poker experience is our top priority at GGPoker. To achieve this, we've partnered with AWS, a globally recognized leader in cloud computing and security solutions. By leveraging AWS's advanced artificial intelligence, machine learning, and cloud-based security infrastructure, we have taken our fraud detection and prevention systems to the next level. This partnership allows us to analyze millions of transactions in real time, detecting and mitigating fraudulent activities before they impact our players. With AWS's expertise in cutting-edge technology, we ensure that GGPoker remains the most secure online poker platform in the industry. Our collaboration underscores our unwavering commitment to fair play and trust, reinforcing GGPoker as a leading in secure and responsible gaming. It's interesting because the implication there is that now with AWS behind them, they have access to basically so much speed and server power that they're going to be able to nab real-time violators in a easier fashion.
Can you go back to that tab, Papo?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, so what he's referring to is how we're protecting you.
Like instant fraud detection. So if there's chip dumping, collusion, or account takeovers, they spot it.
Effectively.
Fair play guarantee, monitoring to detect suspicious betting patterns and gameplays, secure transactions, I guess. But weren't the funds anyways? Isn't that more for them?
Yeah.
Faster, more reliable
people want to know
production.
that their money's secure.
We've doubled our ability.
So
Yeah, but what if they doubled from, right? Because if they doubled from 0,
right.
it's still 0.
Yeah. I think the big bullet points here that interest us is the access to machine learning and AI with basically unlimited resources from the AWS side.
I guess how can that pick up collusion?
Well, you would have to have a set of protocols that it looks for, right? The idea, I assume, is that like they have AI bots scraping all of their data and looking for anomalies.
Yeah.
But it also could just be like, going through reports. People report suspicious behavior. They're able to run this through some sort of algo and determine if it is or is not. They're also partnered with GTO Wizard, as we know. So
It's
they
again more things that look good, but who knows what's going on.
Optically, this seems like a really big step in the right direction. And, you know, theoretically, with that much computing power behind them, the notion is that they could have AI that is strong enough to be able to detect things like bots, things like, I guess, RTA maybe. But again, we're not in the know, so it's difficult to have any idea. Still seems like very timely optics, but also very important ones. Like, this is more than any other sites are giving us, you know?
I mean,
Not
the
that it's
opposite
much,
is team pros with charts and being they're just goofballs. So this is very anti-goofball.
Yeah, very anti-goofball.
No goofballs over there.
I will say that, like, the one thing that is frustrating about this type of stuff is that we can't see it in motion, you know? Like, when ACR implemented the reshuffle of pre-flop cards, we could actually physically, I mean, for better or for worse, you knew it was happening, right? Because, like, you folded the ace of spades, then it shows up on the flop. And I say for better or for worse because, like, that takes a large amount of educating your audience to know that that's not, like, an error. This stuff's all happening behind the scenes, so we just have to fully trust. And it's great. This is better than not doing it, right? Like, I trust AWS, which makes me want to trust GGPoker more, for sure. But we still need to have, like, some clarity of how often RTA is being utilized. Like I said, those 31 accounts just, like, out of the blue getting banned, that seems more indicative of a wider spread problem than I think we want to admit to, but maybe not. Maybe it was just a long time thing that they were monitoring these accounts and finally had enough info to pursue it. I don't know. And we won't ever know. That's the unfortunate nature of online security, I guess.
Right.
While we're talking security, huge conversation taking place in the poker community as we've heard over the last few days. Maurice Hawkins wins his 18th bracelet, tying him for his 18th ring, tying him for the all-time lead with Ari Angle. But, and to no surprise, it comes with controversy. Maurice just cannot fade the controversy when all this is said and done. So there was an account, it looks like Chainsaw, at Chio Lim.
Not Kessler.
Not Kessler. He put this tweet out a couple days ago, and he said, if you're Maurice Hawkins at Horseshoe, Baltimore, a wheel beats a flush at Showdown with the final three at the Circuit Main. The dealer and the reporter agreed that this is what happened, which is wild. Why did they change the rules for big name players? Now, obviously, that's not what's happening here. However, it did spark a lot of conversation as far as, like, whose responsibility is it to step up and say something. So
this isn't the first time this happened. This happened on a televised on a streamed event as well. Where they didn't realize until after he left. This was a while ago. This is maybe a year ago. If I can find it, I'll pull it up.
Wasn't it in the 25K?
It was. I just remember it was streamed, and somehow the guy left without realizing.
It was a huge
the dealer
tournament.
didn't know either.
It was a huge tournament, and there was a chop or something like that, and they didn't realize that there was a chop.
I vaguely remember this. What was the outcome?
The guy just lost.
The guy just lost.
Interesting.
They just gave the pot to.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into the debate of what should have happened, I can pretty confidently say what's going to happen moving forward, and that's nothing.
Yeah.
Once you deal the next hand, they can't really go back. You know, there's no unwinding the history here. So, you know, it looks as though there's evidence of this having taken place. The person who got third, he put up this screenshot demonstrating that he had the queen high flush. The reporter, you know, claims that Maurice had ace 3 off, no club. The dealer who is there also confirmed. And this kind of caught a lot of traction yesterday or the day before. And what it led to was basically people criticizing Poker.org for reporting this, but not saying anything in real time. Like, obviously, to write this, you had to have recognized that the hand was misread. And this led to a large, loud debate between industry leaders, players, media, etc., as far as like what the proper protocol here should be. I obviously have my opinions. I'm curious what you guys think. In this particular instance, if you're a player at the table when this happens, if you are a dealer in the box, or you're a media member who oversees this hand, what do you think your obligation to correcting an incorrect pot push would actually be?
Lando, I'll let you shoot.
I mean, in theory, right, when the hands are tabled, the result is what it is. It's not like you're overstepping by saying he has a flush, Right. Because I think a lot of the reason why what ended up happened was because of how animated Maurice was when he banged off the wheel. Because from the report, it was saying that like Maurice turned a gutter, like the wheel draw, and was like, okay, we got outs, like out it. And then it comes, and he was like, oh, like hell yeah, brother,
Yeah.
And then like overly animates the straight while there's still like the card gives other guy a flush. You should probably say something.
If you're a member of the media?
100%.
Huh.
In my opinion, like I feel like if you don't say something and something's wrong, you're kind of letting it happen.
Yep.
In an instance like this, it's different if there's a chop on board or whatever, and then someone sees, let's say it's like 10 jack queen king ace or whatever, and they think there's a flush for some reason, someone jams and the guy folds, and you tell them like, hey, there's a chop on board.
That's way different.
That's way different.
That's different because that's an action taking place and a reaction occurring. This is,
I just mean like someone
cards up.
Yeah, like where someone tables their hand, like let's just say it's bet, like check reverse. Who knows? But someone tables like two cards that don't matter because you're playing the board, and then somebody mucks. They don't get the pot, and I would not say, hey, like don't do that. So
that is different. I agree with you that that's different. However,
like this would never happen online because it would just get the right. It would just get the right read.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So now we're trying to say, oh, don't intervene in something that you're not involved with because that's the dealer's job. But if there's incompetence, there's incompetence.
So I think the real question here is whether or not people are overstepping by, if they're not in the game, like whether or not this is okay to do.
Right. And I think it's really important, by the way, as a player to have a very, very, very strong opinion about this. Like you should absolutely have conviction one way or the other. And because like it's going to happen. Right?
I guess if you use like boxing rules, right? It's like protect yourself at all times. And if you're a player and you don't realize this is on you. And you're kind of like,
you can make that argument.
And you're kind of like white knighting-ish if you're saying like, oh, like someone from the audience needs to say, oh, like there's a flush there. Like,
well, not only that, you're setting a precedent, right? Like what if somebody says, wait, hold on a second, you're paying the wrong person, and they're just wrong. And if this happens enough times where they just say, hey, look, it is what it is.
What do you mean paying the wrong person?
So what I'm saying is like, let's say
if someone,
let's say a member of the media says, hey, hold on a second, you're pushing the pot the wrong way. This person has a flush. What I'm saying is if this becomes a thing, there are going to be times where people are just wrong and they say, hey, this person has a straight or this person has a flush, and they're actually incorrect. What I'm saying is if that happens too many times,
I don't think...
Then what, people are annoyed?
Yeah, I just don't think that situation is going to matter enough when the inverse is so brutal.
Agreed.
Like this guy just lost a 5-figure pot because he didn't protect himself, which honestly, that's on you for playing the game and not realizing that. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think I like that argument versus like someone needs to chime in. Like if you don't realize what your hand is and like you like get clowned on by yourself for not realizing that you made a flush and you made a straight and you have the better hand, that's on you. Sure, it's on the dealer too for like not doing their job correctly to like read the hands, but you should know.
Man, that's weird. What about like recreational players that are like playing cash games? Like, would you want them to lose pots? Like that can't be good for the game, right?
I think if you're playing poker, you have to understand the rules of the game, and you don't need someone to protect
right,
you.
But there's
from
a learning curve, right? What I'm saying is like you don't want to deter players from coming to play tournaments or cash games because they don't know the rules.
Well, you probably shouldn't be playing tournaments or cash games if you don't know the rules.
This happens all the time, Landon.
Yeah, why wouldn't you want somebody who doesn't know the rules in there?
Well, at the same time,
let them in.
It's not somebody's responsibility to protect them.
I mean, like I don't know the rules to Pai Gow, but if I want to go gamble, they'll tell me if I win or lose.
Yeah.
You know.
But then sometimes the dealer might make a mistake and you wouldn't know the difference. And you will learn that way. You know?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, basically, I'm very much of the mind of see something, say something. When I was growing up, I think the old lore of poker was ignorance is punished. And when I was growing up in high school and even when we played in college, it was very much understood that the cards didn't speak. You had to declare. So, in other words, just tabling your hand wasn't good enough. You had to declare what your hand was in order for a mistake to be corrected, right? So, I'll give you the example. I've told this story before, but we played like our biggest game ever when we were seniors before we went to college. And there was a hand that happened where I think I had ace 7 and my friend Scott had pocket sevens. And the final run out was like ace, jack, 7 something, or ace 7, jack, ace something. And we got it all in, and I had top house and he had an underboat. I think whatever. I think actually he just had like trip aces and I had a set of 7s. And I misunderstood because I didn't realize I had a full house. I thought I just had trips and I lost to his trips. So, and you know, back then we played mostly 7-card stud derivatives. So it wasn't that crazy for me to think trips versus trips was just like a thing in Hold'em. Even though like I knew better, I just didn't know that well. So I think what it ultimately was like ace, jack, 7, deuce. I had pocket 7s and he had like, you know, ace nothing. And I thought my trip 7s lost to his trip aces. I tabled my hand. Everybody knew that I had a full house. Nobody said a word. And they let him win the pot and came back hours later to rub it in my face when I had already realized like the mistake that I had made, and it cost me like, you know, $200 or something like that, which was massive at the time. And it was like part of the game. It was a way of like, it was another way of getting people within the game. But also understand that like that version of poker that we were playing back then was one full of deceit. It was not about fair play. It was just about taking advantage of everybody else in any way, shape, or form that you could. We were king anglers. All we did was angle. Every opportunity we had, it was baked into the culture of the game as we understood it, right? Like we picked up poker from watching Rounders and, you know, other movies of that sort. And the wild, wild west of poker was very much not a card game. It was not about theory. It wasn't about game theory or anything along those lines. It was simply about deceit. So by all means necessary, within the realm of not cheating, our games were built such that you tried to take advantage of your opposition, which is why, like, I would just not play table stakes, and I would grab our pennies represented quarters, and I would just grab a jar of pennies and slam it into the middle of a pot. And this jar might be worth like hundreds of dollars when we're playing, quarter stakes, and the most anybody's going to win or lose is like $25. That represents a ton of fear to people, so they overfold, yada yada yada, right? This isn't in the spirit of the game. It's just an angle I found that allows me to win more money.
The more I think about the situation, the more I am convincing myself that nobody outside of the game should say anything. And the reason for that is, like, if I'm trying to parallel it to other, like, sports, like, call it football, basketball, boxing, like, spectators don't get to throw flags, and sometimes refs and ump miss penalties, and that has a major impact on the game. And in this case, the players, if they miss it, that's just part of the game. Like, the dealer is supposed to be like the ref.
Yeah, but
you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's a good analogy, but the problem is that it all breaks down within the system, because players are paid a ton of money to go out there and perform. They're risking nothing, and they only stand to gain based off of positive performance. Referees also paid a ton of money to manage the game and ensure fair play. Dealers are paid a pittance, and we pay to be there. So it's a way, way, way different scenario. Like, we're actually investing in ourselves, hoping for a fair environment. We're given minimal oversight as far as, like, people who are ruling on behalf of us and advocating for us. Like, you have a dealer sleeping in the box who doesn't see a flush. Dealers are going to be way less competent than players in most instances, because their job is not to know the ins and outs of the game. Now, of course, reading a board is not a part of the ins and outs of the game, but it's also paying attention to detail in this instance, which isn't going to matter to a random dealer in the middle of a down that they don't care about, right? This isn't on TV. It's not that big of a deal. It matters a ton, though, to the player. This is a 5-figure swing. It could be much more. This could happen at the World Series. No, it couldn't happen in the main event, but, like,
I mean, it's possible, right? You saw the GG main event where the dealer paid someone too much money in a pot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It happens enough for the time. That was in a 25K.
Okay, there's a good example. Who's that on? Because now it behooves everybody at the table to speak up.
Well, it depends, right? Some people might gain more if someone doesn't get...
You just get fucked. You have to get fucked if somebody gets overpaid.
Why?
Right?
What if that makes your ICM situation better?
Oh, because you're saying the person who got shorted gets hurt worse?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But, like, generally speaking, most people are going to be inclined to need to speak up there. Like, generally, it's going to harm people more than it helps them.
The funny thing is, I guess when it comes to board reading and such like that, in high stakes, like, just if you just put this in a Triton tournament or whatever, and you see everyone just, like, intently looking at the board and stuff like this, I don't think a hand ever gets misread or misreported or, like, mislabeled. Like, everyone is seeing that, like, okay, like, you have a straight and then a flush comes in.
Well, when you say everyone, do you mean the onlookers or do you mean the people all in?
The people all in.
I think it's very easy to be like, in your own head when you're all in and at risk. But I agree with you that nobody at that table would miss it, and I 100% am positive that somebody would speak up.
Yeah, like, but that's just part of that, like, high stakes protected environment.
But that's because it's the purest form. That's why I gave that whole backstory to what poker used to be to me, right? When you talk about the evolution of poker, it was just a game of deceit at its core. And it evolved.
The dog and pony show is definitely an angle.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like, let's get that out, baby.
Yeah, so it evolved now into this very pure, intellectual, theoretical version that high rollers are playing.
Now, I really believe that if this was in, like, a high roller tournament and call it somebody that was a pro was somehow got the benefit of the doubt, they would find a way to make it right with the other people at the table. Like, give some money back ICM wise. But there's no way that's happening.
That's never happening here. I mean, we don't even know. Maurice has his own troubles to deal with. He's not going to go back and compensate ICM wise for these people, like, especially because, like, and this is, there's plenty of things to slight Maurice over. I wouldn't necessarily slight him over this, but he's very old school. Like, everything about his game is around that initial version of poker where it's just about being deceitful to your opposition. His table talk, the way he tries to intimidate people, like, this is one of those scenarios where if I'm confident, if I had to range the likelihood of everybody at the table or all the onlookers having witnessed that a flush hit, my level of confidence that the person who busted saw it is he 0% saw it for sure. The dealer maybe like 1%, but probably pretty close to 0 since it's his job to read the board. The reporter, 25% likely that he saw that the pot was getting pushed the wrong way. And Maurice, I would say it's probably like 70% that he knew that a flush hit and no one else was recognizing it. Because, like, willful ignorance in that instance just pays. If you're just willfully ignorant and you never point it out and no one else ever notices, then the pot just gets pushed and we all move on and you just made tens of thousands of dollars.
It is a free roll to overreact and hope that people just look at your reaction as the answer versus what
I don't think that's what
is.
I don't think that. I think that was maybe what led to this happening, but I don't think he like overreacted because the flush card hit and he thought maybe it would distract people. I think that was probably just a natural, it's a 5. I was looking for a 5. I'm excited about the 5 kind of thing. And then it, dovetailed into people overlooking the fact that it was a flush card.
Yeah. I see both arguments being reasonable. I think protecting the environment makes a lot of sense too. Like saying what you're saying, where if you want poker to be this pure form versus this seedy backwater game of like, where can you find some unscrupulous edge?
Yep.
Then you want to protect the players at the cost of potentially getting it wrong sometimes. And the worst thing that happens is the game slows down a little bit.
Agreed.
And you make sure
exactly
that
you just get oversight.
Right. It's like, like he is a straight reporter says something and like kind of speaks out of pocket and like is wrong. It's like, like that happens. Like the intent there is always going to be positive. Like they're trying to do right versus trying to do negative, where the intent of like cheering might be something that angles in a negative way.
I agree with you. So that you made my point for me. I think that's the most articulate way that it could be expressed. If we want to get past what poker used to be, if we want to graduate beyond poker's history, so to speak, we have to lose some of the elements of the culture that have managed to make their way through 3 or 4 generations now of modern poker, right? And the whole keep your mouth shut when a hand is being misread thing is just a cultural thing that stems back to when, Amarillo was pulling a fast one on Bobby Baldwin kind of thing, right? It stems back to the days when there were real pistols on the table and you were literally just trying to find ways to win without getting any bodily harm done, Back when games were expected to be cheated, not supposed, like people didn't like think, oh wait, maybe they're cheating. No, they're definitely cheating me. How can I counteract the cheating and still find a way to win? We're way past that now, right? Like we're in the modern era where poker is being brought to you at scale. This is in a casino. It's overlooked by gaming. They have an entire staff on hand. If you are an onlooker here, you have to say something, even if you're a spectator. And that's the thing. If it was an audience member, like let's say somebody on the rail, let's say somebody on that guy's rail who busted, said, yo, no, you got to flush. No one would be mad. How could anyone be mad? Right? Who would be mad?
The only people that would be mad are people that are trying to win unfairly.
Right. So it's like nobody would be mad at that person because they're not objective. They're actually in the corner of the guy who lost, right? They're advocating for him, right? Why on earth would we be mad at an objective observer then? Why would we ever be mad at media who's writing the hand down saying like, hold on a second, am I writing this right? 5 of clubs, he has a flush. Okay, you push that pot wrong, right? Now the counter argument, and this is a lot of what was going around, Brad Willis made a pretty strong statement about this. He said, absolutely under no circumstance ever should poker media speak up in this instance. And Savage replied, not only should media say something, but anybody who saw the pot going the wrong way should say something. I staunchly agree with Savage in this instance. Brad then followed up with a long reply, and he said, obviously, we always want the pot to go the right way, not a question. But, and I mean this with all due respect for poker media, I don't think you want to open that giant can of worms.
This is what I was.
When you give somebody like me complete freedom to stop a pot from getting pushed. Imagine the chaos if the media could stop action every time they witnessed a mistake happen, or worse, a mistaken. This is a word weird, but anyway, a mistake that they thought happened.
Correct. That's what I was saying earlier.
But like that's part of being
trying to police the game.
Good intentioned, but you know what they say with hell being paved by good intentions.
Yeah, I mean, his next sentence to me is the one that like everybody just needs to get over. And this is something that like I just don't for the life of me understand. He said, imagine the player's frustration and outrage if this were to occur and it were an error. Imagine the media who messed up and called foul when there wasn't a problem. The best case scenario, as far as I'm concerned, is that the poker media accurately records the action. And if there's a question about what happened in the eye of the sky, and the eye of the sky couldn't document it, the floor consults the media to determine if the dealer player reporting the matches are repeated. So my whole thing is, imagine how frustrated the player would be if we cried foul and it was incorrect. Get over yourself, man. Like, get over yourself. This whole babying the player because he's the customer and we don't want him to get emotional over something, like, oh, the media points out the pot got pushed the wrong way, now Maurice blows up. Who fucking cares, right? All we care about is getting it right. All we should care about is getting it right.
I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling reporters.
Right. So there's this, I hate to keep bringing it back to this because I feel like now it's just he's getting unjustly picked on, but Okin is like scrupulous with the dealers. Like everything just like irks him, right?
In terms of mechanics, right?
Not just mechanics, but like just, you know, if they put the flop out too slow or they put it out, like if they're left-handed and they put it out right to left, like he can't take it. You know what I mean? Like anything that is abnormal to him. Like he wants the same consistent experience, 100% of hands that are dealt out. Obviously that's not feasible. But the one thing, a lot of it is just like, you know, some things he's right about, some things are a personal choice, whatever. But the one thing that I can't stand is at showdown, the dealer will push up the cards to allow the player to read the hand, which, by the way, had that happened here, well, actually, maybe it did happen here and he just pushed up the wrong cards. But it doesn't look like he pushed up any cards.
They were
right?
straight.
So had the dealer done his protocol and actually pushed up the winning hand, maybe then somebody notices.
Is this standard protocol to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I didn't know that.
Absolutely. At showdown, the dealer is supposed to demonstrate the winning hand. So in this instance, he would have pushed up the 2, 4, and 5 for a straight. And anybody paying any attention now would see like, oh, but there's actually 2 other clubs here.
Oh, yeah, there's a 4-card flush, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you should be pushing up the flush, right? Okin will just lambaste the dealer for doing that. You don't need to do that here. We can all read the fucking hand. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And it's like...
So then he's overstepping.
Way overstepping. Because things like this happen. And I don't care how seasoned you are. I don't care what level you're playing. At some point in time, you're going to be too tired. You're going to be too distracted. Something is going to happen where you are not going to be paying close enough attention to the details that you're going to misread something. And you absolutely need somebody advocating for you. And if you shush the dealer from doing their job, you've lost your only natural advocate in the game, right?
So then what do you guys do in your game when he does that?
We've we've talked to him about it. He's just like gonna let it go. He has to let it go. He's like, it's just too tilting. It's so needling whenever they push up. It's like they're doing their job for a reason, and at some point, somewhere down the line, it's gonna save somebody a pot. 100% for sure, it's going to save somebody a pot. And in this instance, had the dealer done his job, it probably would have saved this kid a third place finish. And who knows what ended up occurring from there. So I bring all that up because it's like players want things both ways. They want it cut both ways. They want the fair game, but they also don't want to deal with the annoying protocols that will yield a fair game. And it's like we, at some point in time, not to push back too hard here on Brad, because he's right. I understand. Like, I would be very meek as a reporter especially if I like wasn't
super seasoned.
Yeah, like qualified as a player.
You'd be scared to be like, hey guys, I think this is a mistake, and then be wrong. Like, that would feel shitty.
Like, it's one thing if you're like Mickey Doff or BJ Nemeth, you know, a reporter that everybody fucking knows and has seen on the circuit for 15 years. They have they kind of have the seasoned stripes to speak up in an instance like that. But say you're some like kid out of college that may or may not
trying to make some extra money in the summer,
who may or may not even know much about poker. Like, I'd be pretty meek in that instance. I would be afraid to speak up, even if, you know, see something, say something kind of idea. But the reason why you would be meek is because you're so fearful of being wrong. And there's no fucking downside to being wrong here.
Like, the person who gets like kind of clowned on is the reporter for being wrong, but like that's the worst thing that happens. Yeah. And you kind of put yourself in that spot. But if you're convinced that someone has a flush, you're like, hey man.
The only reason they would even get clowned on is because people want to project their anger and emotion out at something in a game that they're losing at.
Also, are they jeopardizing their job?
Well,
like, are they jeopardizing getting like, you know, some type of...
That's fair, because basically every media member who's chimed in has said like standard protocol is you don't say a thing. And that's been what it's been taught for ages. And I'm basically agreeing with Savage. We need to change that. We absolutely need to make it abundantly clear to players, staff, dealers, floor people, media members, everybody, see something, say something. You absolutely have to, right? Because imagine that, like, for instance, a media. This is taking a little bit further, but to me, this line is a lot more gray. Because like this is abundantly clear to me. You see the pot getting pushed the wrong way, you should say something. This is a much more gray area. Imagine somebody's reporting a hand, and they see somebody marking a card with invisible ink, right? They just see that, like, they're paying enough attention. They see the 3-seat continually.
Or like dig a nail into a card.
Or digging a nail in. They're doing something to mark cards, right? Do you think that they should go tell a TD? Hey, you know,
I'm okay with that, but them stopping the game and saying, "Hey, this guy's cheating," like,
of course, totally agree with you. You have to be much more discreet, but only because it's the accusation, right? There's no accusation here.
It's not nefarious. Like, if this is an honest mistake, I
exactly.
understand. Yeah, I got you.
Pointing out a mistake versus accusing somebody of cheating are not the same thing. But everybody in that game should desperately want the media member to go find a floor staff and say, hey, I'm a little suspicious of the 2-seat. I think that he might be marking cards.
It does feel like if you want to uphold the highest standard and someone says something, you allow them to do that. Where if you're playing in an online environment, this situation never even happens. So why should live have a different rule set of maybe the dealer or the players are sleeping on it, therefore they should get punished? I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
Like in the most perfect world, in any sport, really, all fouls are called and nothing is out of place.
Right.
So allowing that to be the case is very like old school, old timey, like, wow, like he slept on the prop, you don't get paid.
Yes, exactly. That's the culture that keeps carrying through, right? The hustle culture, so to speak.
Like the perfect prop is no one ever loses EV because every prop gets hit.
Right.
But you make money in props because people sleep on it.
Exactly. The only reason people play props is because they think that they have an edge.
Yeah. Like I'm going to sleep on it more than I'm not going to sleep on it more than the other guy.
We know people who were kicked out of the win because they were team propping like the higher stake 10-20 games at the win. So all 3 of them would sit in the game. One of them would get high stakes prop going, and the other 2 would eagle eye.
We not naming people?
I don't want to say that stuff. I'm very certain that it happened, but when you throw names out there, then you have to be 100%.
Bold accusation, huh?
So basically, all 3 of them would sit in the game together. One of them would get high stakes prop going, and then the other 2 would watch every single hand.
They couldn't sleep on it now,
to make sure that he never slept.
Right.
And now they're just printing EV for every single board that the other guy sleeps.
Right. And it's like, you don't want to propagate this as culture in poker.
It's what we should be phasing out.
Nice.
You know? Yeah.
Got to phase it out.
I think that this is an opportunity for media, for operators, and players alike to all come together and say, like, okay, we don't need to be handled with kid gloves anymore. Like, it's okay to speak up if you see the pot getting pushed the wrong way.
I guess this is kind of the like tragedy leads to progress sort of thing, where because this happened, now it's been a big enough discussion to not have to have happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only way to do that. Where if you have players fending for themselves, it's definitely going to happen again.
Of course. The reason why I'm fearful that there will be no change is because of how at odds everybody seems to be with their opinion on this. Where to me, it's just like very clear. There's no world where you shouldn't be saying something, but like Sean McCormick, who his opinion carries a lot of weight. He's very high up. I mean, this guy went from dealer all the way to the top of MGM poker management, right? He basically said, I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this, but under absolutely no circumstance should anybody say something. And it's like, if you hold that opinion when, you know, you basically oversee all of poker operations for MGM, that opinion is going to carry forward now through the staff, through the media, et cetera, and now no change is going to take place.
Was he speaking specifically about media or just other players at the table? Or
I mean, if you believe it about media, you believe it about the other players at the table. The only argument I can make for there being a difference there is that ICM wise, it may matter to the other player at the table, but no, that's not even true, because he benefits from this guy busting too. He immediately now vaults up to second place at worst, right? So yeah, I don't think you want to create an incentive system where people look out for their own personal best interest when determining if a game is going to be fair or not. That just doesn't seem proper. And I think you're just putting way too fucking much on the dealer if nobody in the game is policing. Like, you know, for better or for worse, I've always prided myself in trying to be a second set of eyes for the players in the game and for the dealing staff as well. And I know that there are other players in the game that are similar to me. So it's like, you're not trying to point out mistakes because you want to gotcha people. You're just trying to ensure that things run smoothly and nobody gets fucked. And way, way, way too often, people just get mispaid. People get misread. Like, you know, I want to be able to be tired, table my hand, and have somebody say, no, you actually have sevens full, not trips. And then just win the pot, you know, and not have to worry about, you're already you're policing so many things as a player, you know. You have to be able to automate some things, I think. And Showdown seems to be one of the ones that we should just be able to bucket into the automated category. All right. This has been a long show. That's going to do it for us. We're going to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, noon. We're going to be joined by Jesse Sylvia. He's finally back in town. That'll be our final show of the week as I'm heading to Arizona for the weekend for a little get-together with a bunch of friends. But we'll be back next week also. So be sure to stay tuned. We'll see you guys all then.
Peace.